Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥 Sharma.
Good evening aspirants, welcome to the Hindu News Analysis discussion brought to you by ForumIAS for the date 16th of August 2023. These are the list of news articles for today's discussion. We will be covering 5 topics from environment, governance, polity and a topic from economics. So alongside this we will also be discussing 2 previous year prelims questions at the end of the discussion. So with this straight away, let us move to our first article of the day. First topic, with amended act kicking in, Odisha has no deemed forest. The news is regarding the recent amendments to the Forest Act of 1980. The news reported here is not much important from exam point of view, but let us study about the recent amendments to the Forest Conservation Act. See, the Lok Sabha recently passed the Forest Amendment Bill of 2023 after the Joint Committee on the Forest cleared all proposed amendments. This bill amended the Forest Conservation Act of 1980. Firstly, before getting into the provisions of the recent amendment, let us know what is the need for the amendments. First factor is different interpretation. See, in the Godavarman case of 1996, the Supreme Court expanded the definition of forest. There, the Supreme Court encompassed not only lands officially recorded as forest in the government records, but also areas which look like forest in their dictionary meaning. However, this led to complications as many of these lands were already being utilized for non-forestry purposes. As a result, there arose different interpretation of how the provisions of FCA apply to different categories of lands, including recorded forest lands, private forest lands and plantations. For example, approximately 30 resorts in Karnataka became a subject of dispute between state's revenue and forest authorities due to conflicting views on whether the land they were utilized was classified as forest lands or not. Second factor is the delay in approval process. Previously, the FCA, which means the Forest Conservation Act, requires consent from numerous authorities at the state and national levels before engaging in any non-forest activities in areas designated as forest. This approval process was very difficult and challenging. It took almost a year even for minor requests like building access paths on the designated forest lands. Then the third concern is with regard to creation of additional carbon sinks. See, due to apprehensions that plantation on the lands of individual and organization can attract the FCA, the afforestation and plantation of trees outside forest were not given adequate push or focus. So this is becoming a hindrance in enhancing green cover in order to fulfill the nationally determined contribution targets. Now coming to the next factor, which is the security infrastructure. We know, right, the strategic and security related projects of national importance need to be fast tracked, because only then it will ensure development of vital security infrastructures, especially along the line of actual control and line of control, and also in the notified left-wing extremism areas. Then the last concern is with respect to other new challenges. Following the enactment of FCA, several new challenges have arisen concerning ecological, social and environmental developments. These challenges includes like mitigating the impact of climate change, meeting the national targets of achieving net zero emissions by 2070 and maintaining forest carbon stock. Consequently, it is imperative to incorporate these issues within the scope of the Act. So these are few reasons that necessitated government to come up with new provisions that led to the amendment of this Act. Now let us see the provisions that were added in the Act. First is the land under purview of the Act. See, the amendment provides that 2 types of land will be under the purview of the Act. First is the land declared as forest under the Indian Forest Act of 1927. Then the second category will be the land that is not covered in the first category, but it is notified as forest on or after October 25 of 1980 in a government record. Then the second provision is the exempted categories of land. The amendment exempts certain types of forest lands from the provision of the act, such as forest lands along a rail line or public road maintained by the government up to maximum size of 0.10 hectare. Secondly, forest lands situated within the 100-kilometer zone from international borders, line of control, line of actual control. Then forest lands that could be used for construction of strategic linear projects or exempted from the provisions of the act. Then forest lands up to 10 hectares for constructing security related infrastructure is also given exemption. Then know that forest lands proposed to be used for constructing defense related projects, camps for paramilitary forces or public utility projects up to 5 hectares in left-wing extremism affected areas are also exempted. Then the next category is with respect to leasing of forest land. Under the previous act, a state government requires prior approval of the central government to assign forest lands to any entity which are not owned or not controlled by the government. From this new amendment, this condition is extended to all entities, even including the government owned and controlled entities. Then the next provision is with respect to permitted activities in forest lands. Previously, the Act specifies certain activities that will be excluded from non-forest purposes. These activities includes work related to conservation, management, development of forest and wildlife, etc. The recent amendments adds more activities to this list, such as zoos and safaris under the Wildlife Act of 1972, then ecotourism facilities, silvicultural operations, and any other purpose specified by central government will also be taken as permitted activities in forest lands. Then finally, there is a provision with respect to power to issue directions. The amendment adds that the central government may issue directions for the implementation of the act to any organization which are recognized by the center, state or union territories. So these are few provisions which are added through the amendment. Now let us see what should be the way forward. First is complete ground surveys. Rather than restricting the scope of Forest Conservation Act, there should be an effort to prioritize and complete the demarcation process for unrecorded forest. This approach would ensure that these forests are properly recognized and safeguarded under the existing legislation. Then secondly, there should be a careful balance between developmental projects and forest conservation. Also, compensatory afforestations should be carried out on non-forest land rather than just promoting plantations over natural forest. Then finally, another foremost point is that the rights of indigenous and forest communities should be respected and their concern should be taken when it comes to diversion of forest land, which means their livelihood and dependence on forest should be taken into consideration while taking decisions. So these are the 3 points which could be considered as a way forward. So from this article, we saw about the need for the amendments, then the new provisions with respect to Forest Conservation Act and the way forward. So with this, let us close this topic and move to the second topic. Second topic, PM announces new housing scheme for urban poor, low interest rate loans on offer. Then PM has also spoke about the Vishwakarma Yojana soon for traditional artisans. In the Independence Day speech, Prime Minister said that a new scheme is to be launched to help urban poor build houses in cities. And under this program, the urban poor will receive relief in interest rate and loans taken from banks to construct their houses. We already know the government has a scheme to address the housing shortage for the urban poor called Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban. So since this is mentioned in the article, let us know about the scheme. See, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban was launched by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs in the year 2015. The aim of this scheme is to provide central assistance through states or union territories for providing houses to all eligible families by the year 2022. Later, the target year got extended. See, the mission seeks to address the housing requirements of the urban poor, including slum dwellers, through various programs. First is the slum rehabilitation of slum dwellers with participation of private developers using land as a resource. Secondly, by promotion of affordable housing for weaker sections through credit linked subsidy. Third vertical is through the affordable housing in partnership with private and public sector. Then finally, through subsidy for beneficiary led individual house construction, housing facilities are provided. Then if we take the key features of the scheme, see, the beneficiaries of the scheme includes economically weaker section, low income groups and middle income groups. And know that the mission is being implemented as a centrally sponsored scheme except for the component of credit linked subsidy, which will be implemented as a central sector scheme. Then as a way of empowerment, know that the houses constructed with central assistance under the mission should be in the name of female head of the household or in the joint name of male head of the household and his wife. So this is all about Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Alongside the announcement of new scheme related to housing in urban, PM announced a scheme for artisans named Vishwakarma Yojana with an allocation of up to 15,000 crores. The motive behind this Yojana is to help skill development among the youths. See, Prime Minister Vishwakarma Kaushal Samman scheme, or simply Prime Minister Vishwakarma Yojana, has been announced for traditional artisans and craftsmen in the budget 2023 to 24 itself. This scheme is a package of assistance that has been conceptualized for encouraging traditional arts and handicrafts. By this way, it will enable the country's artisans to improve the quality, scale and reach of their products, and also integrating these products with the MSME enterprise value chain. Know that to help the artisans to improve their products, quality, scale and reach, financial support, advanced skill training in modern digital technologies and efficient green technologies are provided under the Pradhan Mantri Vishwakarma Yojana. And know that by integrating artisans along with the local and global markets through MSME value chain linkage, the scheme is expected to boost employment and GDP contribution from the traditional artisans and craftsmanship. So that is all about the Prime Minister Vishwakarma Kaushal Samman scheme. So from this news article, we saw about Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana and also about the recently announced PM Vishwakarma Yojana. So with this, let us close this news article here. Third topic, SC plans expansion of infra e-courts to offer national link. The news reports that the Chief Justice of India wants an overhaul of the court infrastructure as it is necessary to make the court infrastructure more accessible and inclusive. So from this topic, let us know about the need for digitization project in a comprehensive manner. First of all, let us know why Indian courts should use digital technologies. First is the need for faster justice delivery, then clearing pendency, which is around 3.27 crore cases before Indian courts, of which nearly 85,000 have been pending for nearly 30 years as per the E-Committee report. Then third motive is to reduce long delays and difficulties for ordinary litigants. Finally, to build people's trust in the judiciary, we need to opt for digital technology. To fulfill the above given objectives, the Indian judiciary has launched Project E-Court, which are monitored by the E-Committee. Now let us see the salient features of E-Courts project. The phases 1 and 2 had dealt with the digitization of judiciary. For example, involving in e-filing, tracking cases online, then uploading judgments online were few of the provisions which were under the phases 1 and 2 of digitization of judiciary. Then in the draft vision document for phase 3 of E-Courts project, the draft vision aims for digitization of court processes, upgrading the electronic infrastructure of the judiciary, then enabling access to lawyers and litigants. In addition to that, the vision of E-Courts project deals with seamless exchange of information between various branches of the state, such as between the judiciary, police system, and prison systems through interoperable criminal justice system. After its implementation, we can see certain benefits of 𝐒𝐶𝐻 project. First point is that phase 2 of the project helped in the development of national service and tracking of electronic processes, which enabled the delivery of e-summons. Then during the COVID-19 pandemic, the Supreme Court and the High Courts have been able to function online because of 𝐒𝐶𝐻 project only. Likewise, there are many benefits in digitization of court functioning. Now let us see what are the concerns associated with the 𝐒𝐶𝐻 project. Firstly, as per the Criminal Justice and Police Accountability Project, the ICJS will exacerbate existing class and caste inequalities. For instance, the exercise of data creation at local police stations have historically contributed to the criminalization of entire communities through the colonial era laws like Criminal Tribes Act of 1871. So it helped in labeling such communities as habitual offenders. So that is why they are saying that interoperable criminal justice system also has the potential to label citizens with such tags. Secondly, large-scale gathering and sharing of data with no data protection regime present in India may cause data theft, cybersecurity issues, and online harassments. Thirdly, localized data will be centralized by the Ministry of Home Affairs, will also lead to certain negative aspects like 360-degree profiling of individuals, then integrating all of their interactions with government agencies into unified database. See, such an approach is used by social media platforms and tech companies for targeted advertisements. Likewise, there are chances that data collection by the government may end up as targeted surveillance. Fourthly, it is not clear that why Home Ministry needs access to court data which has absolutely no relation to criminal law. So these are few concerns which has to be considered. Now if we take the way forward, firstly the 𝐒𝐶𝐻 project must move towards localization of data. Also, E-Committee must prevent the seamless exchange of data between the branches of state that should remain separate. Secondly, collected data need to be stored in an anonymous and aggregated manner. Thirdly, the Supreme Court need to ensure that 𝐒𝐶𝐻 projects does not violate the privacy standards that were set in Puttaswamy case of 2017. Fourthly, active participation of citizens should be there when data of the courts and police stations are integrated, because link for such an integration should be individual citizens. Such an approach could bring in transparency and accountability. As a conclusion, we can say digital technology can play a huge role in faster delivery of justice. However, the privacy and fundamental rights of citizens needs to be protected, as the technology is only a means and not an end in itself. So these are the few points for way forward. So from this article, we dealt with the need for digital technology, the features of 𝐒𝐶𝐻 project, the concerns associated with it, and the way forward. So with this, let us close this topic and move to the fourth article. Fourth topic, consumption-based poverty estimates have relevance. The editorial begins by quoting facts on multidimensional poverty. That is, a recent report by NITI Aayog on multidimensional poverty shows that the percentage of poor has gone down from 25% in the 2015 to 16 to 15% in 2019 to 21. Also, the report says that around 135 million people were lifted out of poverty during this time period. In addition to it, the Global Multidimensional Poverty Index report of 2023, which is published by UNDP and Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative, shows that the incidence of multidimensional poverty index declined from 27% in the 2015 to 16 to 16.2% in 2019 to 21. Here, in spite of these facts, authors suggest that consumption-based poverty estimates are still very relevant, and the multidimensional poverty estimates are not substitutes for national sample survey. To substantiate this, authors of this article are focusing particularly on methodology relating to the multidimensional poverty index. See, the report of Global Multidimensional Poverty Index 2018 says India has made momentous progress in reducing multidimensional poverty, and the incidence of multidimensional poverty was almost halved between the 2005 to 2015 time period. So, within this 10-year period, the number of poor people in India fell by more than 271 million. But as far as the 2015 to 16 estimates are concerned, the estimates of poverty based on consumer expenditure and using the Tendulkar committee methodology shows that number of poor came down by 137 million despite an increase in population. So we can infer that there is a decline in poverty as per the Tendulkar committee report, but it is not as much as that is shown in the global multidimensional poverty index. Also, according to Rangarajan committee methodology, the decline between 2009 to 2012 is 92 million, which is 46 million people per annum lifted out of poverty. For a decade, it will be larger than the global MPI. However, in absolute terms, the poverty ratios based on Tendulkar and Rangarajan committee methodologies are lower than as estimated by the global multidimensional poverty index. Then in the methodology of MDPI, the expert group to review the methodology for measuring poverty pointed out that there are limitations to using multidimensional indicators because these multidimensional indicators raise several issues regarding their measurability, aggregation across indicators. Then there is a need for databases that provide requisite information at reasonably short intervals. So the author says these needs to be considered and evaluated carefully. For example, there is a problem with the child mortality indicator as it is for population groups and not for households. Also, aggregation is another problem in multidimensional poverty index. For instance, access to safe drinking water cannot be aggregated with indicators such as child mortality. More generally, this requirement poses several data constraints. Thirdly, the author says all of non-income indicators such as education, health, drinking water over time with income poverty into an index poses several problems. So they highlight that it is important to supplement expenditure based poverty estimates with other indicators of living standards. Few other critics of MDPI methodology suggest adding public service as another dimension besides consumption in multidimensional conceptualization of poverty. Generally, we know in the minds of most people, being rich or poor is associated with levels of income. So, the various non-income indicators of poverty are in fact reflection of inadequate income. Defining poverty in terms of income or in the absence of such data in terms of expenditure seems most appropriate, and it is this method which is followed in most countries. So we can conclude by saying that the methodology of multidimensional poverty index, although covers holistic development indicators, the multidimensional coverage makes it hard to quantify as well as provide a quality data which is reliable for decision making. So that is all about the opinion section here. So from this opinion, the authors have listed few facts with regard to multidimensional poverty, and they have taken concerns of methodologies that are used in the global multidimensional poverty index and gave certain suggestions to it. So with this, let us close this topic and move to the fifth topic. Fifth topic: why is the Kaveri water sharing issue flaring up again? Recently, the Tamil Nadu government approached the Supreme Court asking it to intervene and to make Karnataka immediately release 24,000 cusecs from its reservoirs. Besides this, the Tamil Nadu government wanted Supreme Court to ensure the availability of the specified quantity of water at Biligandalu on interstate border for the remainder of month. This is the news here. From mains angle, we shall know the reasons for persistence of interstate water disputes. first, then we shall discuss about the Kaveri water issue, and then let us see the way forward. First, the reasons for persistence of interstate water disputes. Firstly, the legislative powers concerning water have been distributed between the union and state governments. Here, the idea has been to ensure optimum utilization while balancing the interest of the states. However, this approach of imprecise distribution of power between the union and the states has created federal jurisdictional ambiguity. Secondly, a big limiting factor is the lack of effective authority for enforcing the orders of tribunals. The tribunals can only make an award and it cannot make it binding. And moreover, the tribunals also lack the ability to punish for its contempt. So these are the 2 points which are foremost important reasons for the persistence of interstate water disputes. Thirdly, Article 262 provides that the Parliament may by law prevent the Supreme Court or any other court from exercising jurisdiction in interstate water disputes. But however, in the Article 136, the Supreme Court can hear the appeals against the orders of tribunals. Thus, the SC remains the adjudicatory body along with the tribunals, creating an institutional ambiguity. Fourthly, the critics of system argue that members of tribunals created for adjudicating the interstate water disputes have been predominantly from the judiciary. This has led to lack of multidisciplinary approach to dispute settlement, and they also say there is not much difference between the tribunal and the bench of Supreme Court because of this. Fifthly, there have been excessive delays in establishing tribunals and making awards. The right to have a dispute referred to tribunal under the Interstate Water Disputes Act is based upon the union government's determination. So that leads to excessive delays in establishing tribunals and making awards. Sixthly, given that agriculture constitutes the primary economic activity in many parts of the country, water is a contentious issue. And so, interstate disputes are exploited for political mobilization and electoral benefits. Because of this, most often, state governments have rejected the awards of tribunals. Seventhly, there is a lack of data regarding water flows, seasonal variations, etc., which results in ambiguity regarding the availability of water, surplus water for sharing, etc. In addition, seasonal variations in monsoonal rainfall sometimes create shortage of water. So we can see state governments argue that there is no surplus water to be shared. Now coming back to the Kaveri river water issue, see, the Kaveri water disputes is an interstate water dispute between the states of Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and the Union Territory of Puducherry. But the sharing of Kaveri water has been an area of contestation between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu often. See, the Kaveri water dispute has its root in the agreement which was signed back in the years 1892 and 1924 between the then British ruled Madras Presidency and the princely state of Mysore. But in the year 1970, a fact-finding committee was set up to figure out the situation on ground. After submission of the report, the states reached an agreement in the year 1976. However, later when Tamil Nadu got its new government, it refused to give consent to terms of agreement, which led to fresh disputes. Instead, in the year 1986, Tamil Nadu government appealed the central government to constitute a tribunal for solving the issue under the Interstate Water Disputes Act. Later in the year 1990, following a Supreme Court order, the center constituted Kaveri Water Disputes Tribunal to resolve the water sharing dispute between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So this is the history behind the interstate water dispute which is concerned with the state of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Now let us see what should be the approach towards settling interstate water disputes. Firstly, the Sarkaria Commission has suggested that awards of tribunals be given the same weight as the Supreme Court judgment. Secondly, the government's inability to properly handle water-related disputes is reflected in high number of appeals to Supreme Court. Some experts suggest that the appeal to Supreme Court should only be on procedural aspects. Then the awards based on experts' opinion should not be questioned in the court. Thirdly, there is a need to establish a time frame for constituting the tribunal by the union government. Tribunals should also try to avoid unnecessary delays in giving awards. Fourthly, the interstate council can be rejuvenated to enable it to play a more active role in settlement of such disputes. Fifthly, some experts have suggested that mediation can also be explored as a possible option for successful resolution of disputes. Then the final point is that the infrastructure should be created for better collection of data related to interstate river basins, because better data will provide clear picture regarding the availability of water, seasonal variation, and help in equitable distribution of water among states. As a conclusion, we can say the pressures of climate change become evident through water stress in various regions. So it becomes imperative that such disputes are settled in order to ensure optimal use of nation's water resources. So that is all about the article. So from this article, we saw about the reasons for persistence of interstate water disputes and the prevailing water dispute between the state of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu over Kaveri River, and then the way forward to deal with this. So with this, let us close the news articles discussion and move to the previous year prelims questions discussion. See, the two questions that we are going to discuss now has appeared in the year 2021 in civil services exams, preliminary exams. So kindly listen. First question, consider the following statements. The first statement says the governor of the RBI is appointed by central government. Second statement, certain provisions in the Constitution of India gives the central government the right to issue directions to the RBI in public interest. Third statement, the governor of the RBI draws his power from the RBI Act. So which of the above statements are correct? The options given are option A 1 and 2 only, option B 2 and 3 only, option C 1 and 3 only, option D 1, 2 and 3. See, the governor as well as the deputy governors of the RBI are appointed by the central government. So the first statement is correct. The second statement says Constitution of India gives central government certain powers to issue directions to the RBI. This is wrong because there is no such provisions in the Constitution, and as per the section 7 of the RBI Act, the central government gives direction to the banks after consulting the governor of the bank. So the second statement is wrong. If we remove second statement alone, we can come to the conclusion that option C is the correct answer. So let us see the third option also. See, the governor and in his absence, the deputy governor has the power of general superintendence and direction of the affairs, and only the governor as well as the deputy governor of the RBI shall exercise powers which are drawn from the RBI Act. So this is also correct. So the answer for this question is option C 1 and 3 only. Now coming to the second question, consider the following. First, foreign currency convertible bonds. Second, foreign institutional investment with certain conditions. Third, global depository receipts. 4, non-residential external deposits. Which of the above can be included in foreign direct investments? This is the question, and the options given are option A 1, 2 and 3, option B 3 only, option C 2 and 4, option D 1 and 4. See, this is a direct fact-based question. In the capital account of the balance of payment, we can classify the capital account into investments, borrowings and external assistance. So the investments includes equity flows in the economy as well as foreign currency convertible bonds, foreign institutional investments with certain conditions, and also global depository receipts. So all these three options, 1, 2 and 3 statements will come under the foreign direct investments. So the answer for this question is option A 1, 2 and 3. And know that the non-residential external deposits are debt creating flows in the balance of payment accounts, and therefore they are not part of foreign direct investments. So the correct answer for this question is option A 1, 2 and 3. With this, let us wind up our discussion. If you can understand the way I am teaching and if you can understand the concepts well, please like, share, comment and subscribe to ForumIAS Academy in various social media platforms for further update. Thank you.